Do you remember back when we were warning you about the World Economic Forum, the globalists, and how they were going to take over the country and take over the world? Well, that time is here now. I'll explain it to you. Let's take a listen. This is Los Angeles, and I can't believe this. I literally live about 10 minutes from here in downtown LA. This is in K Town. Look at what they're doing. Check this out.
Today at 6:30 in the morning, they ambushed us. They towed all the cars. They brought a crew of 20 men to take our parking using brute force.
Confrontation outside a Koreatown apartment building where this morning the building's owner had residents' cars towed from their spots in order to convert the space into housing. This has become a trend around LA to convert these tiny parking spots beneath a building into ADUs or accessory dwelling units. The owner plans to put 5 of them in here. The main problem is that these residents were assigned their spots in their lease.
Their response was, we put a notice on your door. Well, that notice on the door doesn't change my lease. So this is still lease protected. They still haven't given us an adequate plan to make sure this is habitable.
They now have to spend time and hundreds of dollars to get their cars out of a tow yard. The owner of the building, Mark Nassab, seen in this video filming in the navy blue jacket, declined an on-camera interview but told me we have permits. They've been approved by the city. If it was illegal, building and safety would be here to shut it down. When I brought up the fact these tenants have parking spots in their lease, he said they have it in their lease, but the state allows it by just cause. We can modify the lease. When I told him his tenants are painting him as the bad guy here, he said, I know who I am. I know what I'm doing is right.
So this is not necessarily about creating more housing for homeless people and low income. Don't forget, it was barely a year ago that they burned down the entire all the beach cities in Malibu, from to Santa Monica to Altadena, Pasadena, just burned down all of California. And they're doing something called the Smart City Agenda. But the Smart City plays into the Agenda 2030 from the World Economic Forum, which includes 15-minute cities. In 15-minute cities, there are no more cars. Well, Rico, I live in a big city like Los Angeles. I would never get rid of my car. I need my car to get everywhere that I go. Well, in the future that they see for you, you won't. In the coming future, they are going to get rid of parking spots. And you know how, like, on the first floor of the building is usually the parking garage, and they'll have a lower level and then parking underneath the building? They're going to start turning parking garages into more units. And they are going to get rid of parking. So if you have a car, but you have nowhere to park it, you will get rid of your car eventually, because it's going to cost too much to park it outside on the street. And then cars get towed, they get hit by other cars when you're outside. There's no protection. They are going to force you with brute force to get rid of your vehicle. You will walk, you will take a bike, or you will take public transportation. You will no longer be able to drive in these 15-minute cities of the future. And this is how it all begins. One day you wake up, your parking space is where your car is assigned to, and they send 20 tow trucks to tow you and all your neighbors out of the garage. And then they start doing construction to turn the garage into small ADU units so that they can make more money, but not just for the money, because they want to get rid of cars. Historically, cars have been a way for Americans to have independence. If you have a car, you can go wherever you want to. You can pack up and you can leave. If there's an emergency, you can also escape. When they take away your cars, you're not going to be able to run. You're trapped where you are. When I tell you we're inching ever so closely to living in a Hunger Games society, to look at them do a takeover like this in a state like California in real time, it should literally shock the world. This is happening right now. And a friend of mine just sent me this story, so I'm doing a video about it. But there's so many people that I try to talk to them about Agenda 2030, 15-minute cities, Klaus Schwab. They don't want it. They've never heard of any of this. And I'm like, what did you do during lockdown? And you know what they did? They just fucked around. They partied. They got drunk. They were lazy. They traveled to Mexico. They traveled to Hawaii. They got injections. And now their husbands and boyfriends keep dying. And everyone's looking at each other crazy like, well, why am I sick? And what's going on? You got to start paying attention to everything. They're getting rid of cars. So the first step is to get rid of parking. Now, I'm from LA. So living in downtown, I had to pay an extra $300 a month on top of my rent just to park my car in an outdoor parking lot that was not even secure. When you go anywhere, parking is a minimum of $20 anywhere you go. So they wanted to price you out, but I guess that's not working fast enough. So they're going to just use brute force. I'm like this. That's a lawsuit for this building. You're towing people's cars and taking away their parking spaces that are written into their leases. But I bet you the new people that are moving in, there will be no parking spaces written into their leases. Yeah, they might get sued. They're going to lose a little money. They get tied up in court. But eventually these residents will be gone and the new residents won't drive because that's going to be the new future. Why do you think they want everybody driving electric cars, but Trump's reversing that? That's all a part of Agenda 2032. Because think about it. If every car is on the grid and you turn off the electricity, well, then nobody can drive. Or you can just ration out who's going to let their car get power today and who can't. Also, just like with those little scooters we ride around town, there's geofencing. So say you're driving somewhere that they don't want you to go into the forest or to get away from something. They could literally just turn your cars off and say, this is a undesignated area for humans, and turn your car off. We are literally in a movie right now, and people don't realize what's happening. This is insane. And these people, you know, they're Democrats in LA. They've been voting blue all these years. And now they don't realize that these Democrat policies are catching up to them. And they're just in shock at how fast things are changing all around them. The worst part is there's really nothing they can do about it. The landlord made his decision. He said that's done, and it's happening all over LA. There will be nowhere for you to park pretty soon at all. So there won't be any cars. So everyone's going to have to use Uber. Everyone's got to take a bus or ride a scooter or ride a bicycle. Yes, just like in the movies, this is a complete takeover, and it's happening right now. So the Democrats are fully on board with the globalists, and they're going to push these policies. You know, that's why I was like, because a lot of people just don't understand. You know, ADUs are just a stepping stone. They're going to use that to get rid of private parking lots. And they want people just to walk. They don't want you to own a car. They don't want you to own anything. Remember, you will own nothing and you will be happy. But they will own everything. You won't have any say so. But you got to understand, with Democrats, that's what they're voting for. They call you being equally poor equity. See, if nobody has nothing, then nobody can complain about having less than others. So they want to strip everything away from you. That's why in these cities, they're pushing for everybody to be communist, living off the government. The government owns all the means of production. The government owns all the property. The government tells you can live here. They give you a stipend. And you're just a little useless eater. You sit in your little apartment all day. You walk around. You eat your food. You play video games. You don't have to work. That's that communist utopia these people want. Until you just melt away because you have no purpose. You have no family. You have no children. You have no responsibilities. Now, there are some people that want to live like that. And I'm not one of them. Those of us who prefer some of us prefer freedom over free stuff. We are going to be a part of a breakaway society. We'll be in other states. This is why I will never return to California. California is only the beginning. This is also spreading to Portland, New York, Chicago, Seattle, San Francisco. That's where these are spreading to. And these cities are wide open. Notice these are all in Democrat-ran states where they're bringing in all the illegals because they're going to need their voter base to keep voting for them so they can get these agendas pushed through. Remember, there are people that are in think tanks where there's not just one Rico, there's 20 Ricos that sit around and we plan and predict and we think everything out and we pretty much do it with pinpoint precision. They already map out your future for you and you don't really have any control over it. In the end, they will find a way to liquidate you. And that's what it's all about. You know, when the UN talked about Agenda 2030, they emphasized sustainable cities and they want to reduce carbon emissions, but that's all nonsense. It's all fake science that was all written to demonize oil because they want you to all be on electric so they can turn you all off. Gas gives you independence. Mobility gives you independence. You can think about it. When I wanted to leave California, I was able to load up my car and drive to another state. But if I didn't have a car and I'm on the grid, I couldn't have went anywhere. I'm stuck. I'm trapped. They don't want independence. They want you to be under control. And then think about it. If you're relying on public transportation, you're relying on the city. You're basically at the mercy of your local government. So that means these officials are going to be your gods. Right now, we didn't even know who most of our officials were. Most people didn't even know the name of the governor because we didn't know that they had any real power until 2020 when they shut down all of your restaurants, stores, malls, but they kept open Walmart. They kept open a few grocery stores, but your business had to close, but everything else, but these other ones could stay open. We didn't know who these people were. We didn't even know they existed. We didn't think they had this kind of power. And now they're making their move. The only thing we have stopping this avalanche of a globalist totalitarian takeover, I hate to say it, the only thing standing in the way is Donald J. Trump. That's it. He's the one that's reversing all the regulations, saying that we got to go electric with all that BS science of emissions nonsense, all that the Green New Deal, all that Green New scam stuff. The only person in the way of that agenda is Trump. That's why we have to make sure he stays protected because they're going to be coming for him next. Kirk was just one person. There's going to be more. There's going to be many more. Any conservatives, any Republicans, anybody who's going to stand in the way, they're going to have to get rid of. So, we're just mentally preparing for it, but that is in the future. Like I said, these people are not going to have anywhere to park. That's LA. There is no street parking. We don't really have street parking. So if you own a vehicle, where are you going to put it now? You're going to have to get rid of it or you're going to have to move. But no matter where you move, if you stay in California, this is your future. These Democrats working with the globalists, but the Democrats were also working with the Zionists. It's, they're evil. They don't care about you. You think they do because they're offering you free stuff. Hey, because you're Black, let me give you some free this or free that because you're an illegal. It's all a trap. There's nothing is free. It's going to cost you your life eventually. Matter of fact, it already did. Wasn't it the Democrats that told you had to take that experimental injection to keep your job? Yeah, those were Democrats. Remember the conservatives? Remember Trump was offering you, therapeutics and other alternatives, but you wanted the injection. And now you're wondering why everybody's got cancer and dying all around you, and you're just sitting there looking crazy. We're coming into a brave new world. It's just the part that I hate is that your idiotic decisions eventually affect my bottom line, whether I like it or not. That's why it seems like, the only other option is going to be to relocate to a less advanced country that doesn't have the infrastructure to even attempt a technocratic takeover like the one they're doing here in the States. Here in the States, our infrastructure is better for electrical stuff. So they can do it here. They're not going to be able to do it in some of these third world countries. We're still going to be living like the Amish in other places because our own technology will be used to enslave us. And the only option is going to be a war, just like in the movie Terminator. And then we're back to living like the Amish to protect them because our technology gets out of control and we're already almost there. We're at a tipping point. So we have 5 years into the year 2030, 4 years until 2030. And now look how aggressive they're becoming. And then you're finding out, even as an American, you have no control, you have no say-so, you have no power. There's nothing these people can do. But also they're Democrats and they can just get their shit kicked out. And there's nothing they can do about it at all. They can take your parking spot. What are you going to do? Nothing. Cry. Eventually you're going to move. We're going to do the construction. Oh, well, I have a permit. What is that? Well, what about these people who are parking here? Your residents. They don't care because there's a bigger agenda. You're just a number on a sheet. You're nothing. And they want to get rid of cars. They're getting rid of cars. They're getting rid of your independence. You won't be able to move around. There's nothing you'll be able to do. In the big scheme of things, you would see Los Angeles as the first domino to fall. But you got to think about it. They strongly vote Democrat. So they should be the first domino to fall. All these Democrat strongholds will fall. This country will eventually be a Christian conservative majority, one way or the other. These Democrats, they don't have children. They don't have families. They abort all their kids and they inject themselves with experimental substances that give them heart attacks and blood clots and cancer. So, I guess we will just retake the spoils once these people are gone. And at the rates they're dropping in California, I don't see how much longer this is going to last. But I guess we'll see. Like and subscribe, share the video. Let's finish it out.
I thought that the lease was a document that protected me, and it turns out not necessarily. They can just do whatever they want.
Today at 6.
Well, you got to think about it. A lot of these people are living in subsidized housing. They're on all these state-run programs, so they really can't complain about anything because all they're going to say, well, if you don't like it, move. But what happens when you can't afford to move because you survive off of state programs? And then every year, those programs get smaller and smaller what they're giving you. Or the money they're giving you is worth less and less every month. Eventually, that $2,000 a month that you're getting in a stipend from your universal basic income, it's really only $600 a month. Now you're waiting in food lines with a voucher. My family's from Cuba. We are not too far from being back living like that. And the worst part is there's a lot of people around you who would love for that because they hate the fact that they got to look at you going to work and making something of yourself, and you make them feel insecure and you give them a condition. They want you to lose your business. They want you to lose your job. They want you to be poor so that way you can never look down on them. It's called jealousy and envy. And these people they celebrated when the lockdown came and people lost their businesses. And they're celebrating now, watching people lose everything and the economy crumble. They're celebrating. We can't let them win. We got to do better. This is crazy, but we're going to go ahead and I'll be back on live in about 20 minutes. America first, America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.